Hey, everybody, it's Natalie Bencivenga, and welcome to another edition of Facts Over Fear. I'm really excited for this conversation today. And as many of you know, I have been a long time and fierce supporter and advocate for the COVID cautious, COVID aware community. Long COVID is impacting millions of Americans and people all over the globe, disrupting lives and livelihoods. We're going to be talking about that. Because long COVID, it's not just a health issue, but it's a disability reshaping lives in real time. Our guest today is turning that reality, though, into art. I'm so honored to have Nina Storey with me. She is a two-time Grammy and Emmy nominated artist that worked to create Strangely Optimistic. It's a dark comedy of sorts, made in just 5 days, which, as somebody that works in creating film and short form documentary, that is wow, wild. We're going to talk about that in and of itself. And they're going to be premiering it for the 2026 Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. It's a story about getting sick, not being believed, and still finding humor and a voice through it all. Nina, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, can you share with a little bit about yourself and your journey, how you got to this place of putting together a film in 5 days?
Yeah. So I got sick with COVID early in March of 2020. So like right at the beginning, OG strain, hit me hard. So my experience with it happened very, very early on before they knew up from down. And, in the hospital initially, they didn't even test me. They were like, because my symptoms were initially very weird. And, that's when like initially gaslighting, I didn't even know what that word meant until this whole experience. But they were like, you just need an Ativan, go home. And so like, early on, but initially because hearing that, I was like, oh, okay, I feel better. That's good. It's just in my head. It's not, this horrible, scary thing that's doing terrible things. But, the symptoms continued. And, here we are 6 years later. I've that's a very truncated story, but I've tried many, many different treatments across the board. It altered the course of my life in so many ways, because of just so many things that I went through that, I ended up, finally, I did acupuncture. I don't even know what this treatment is called, but I things were said in other languages and I was tapped on and I took supplements and, various pharmaceuticals and this and that. And, some things helped, some things didn't. The symptoms would come back. They would disable me for months at a time, up and down. I ended up going to actually a research center and working with this researcher. And they're called My Biohack. And they actually have helped me more than anything. But so in the past year, I have improved substantially, but I still suffer crashes. And so, this has been very close to my heart. I mean, I make the joke that like with long COVID, you can feel like you're better, but then you crash and all of the wave of things come back. It's like I compare it to like being in the mob. Like you think you're out of the mob, but you're never out.
But you're never actually out. Can you share with people that may not know or haven't experienced this, what were some of the symptoms or that you still experience? And when you mean crash, what does that actually feel like?
Right. So, it is such a, and everybody there, I think there's over 200 different symptoms that people experience. But for me, it ranged from, oh my gosh, let me start from the top down, I guess. I mean, of course, lots of people know about the brain fog. I had terrible vertigo. It affected my vision. It affected like pain in my eyes, tinnitus, I just pain in various places, severe issues with tachycardia, waking up in the middle of the night where my heart was racing. I mean, I've had called 911 more times than I should have a frequent flyer card at this point with them. God bless them. Arthritis, spontaneous arthritis in my hands, female reproductive issues. I've had numerous procedures, neurological things like perpetual electrocution feeling, tremors, digestive issues. I mean, girl, it just is like
bonkers. Top to bottom.
Top to bottom. And like one symptom would appear And then that would be like the thing. And then, of course, the crushing, debilitating fatigue that makes you feel like I liken it to feeling both simultaneously like you're being dragged behind horses, but then
Mm.
also being pushed to the bottom of a swimming pool.
Oh,
And like, I think there's this conflation of like, oh, you're just tired, just sleep it off. But that kind of fatigue, it's almost painful. Like
mm.
it's almost indescribable. So
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, so one symptom would come, and then another, it would go away, and then another one would replace it. And so this strange kind of like what's that wheel, hamster wheel of
Yeah.
things, so but and yet a lot of it visibly not seen. So I think that's why it gets called the invisible illness, right?
Yeah.
And so it
And it
it
disproportionately impacts women too, which I think also because of already the medical barriers that a lot of women face of being believed. On top of it, now you have all of these random symptoms that people are saying, oh, you're just going through the change, or oh, you just have anxiety, or have you tried, this probiotic? And I've heard this from many people that I've interviewed with long COVID that they're like, no, this is something different.
yeah,
This is something that I can't fully put my finger on. And
right.
after 6 years, there are so many peer-reviewed studies to
Yeah,
back up everything and more of what you said. There
yeah,
are new research, studies coming out that are trying to start to map perhaps what is going on in the blood, why some people seem to have a stronger reaction, quote unquote,
right,
to the after
right,
effects of COVID. And
right.
so I really appreciate you being very candid. And the reason I wanted you to list specifically what you were
Yeah,
experiencing
yeah,
is because I think a lot of people have normalized this idea that COVID is over, nobody's sick from it anymore, we've all moved on. But we are still very much in this. People are getting sick and becoming disabled every single day,
every day.
including our children,
Yeah.
including our children.
I think it is the number one disabling event of children now. And,
Yes.
you know, I it's such I mean, you mentioned at the beginning of this interview, this is like this safe space, and your audience and your community really, listens and understands what this is
Mhm.
about. And, I think as someone who has lived with a chronic illness, first of all, it's changed the way I recognize what ableism is. I mean, I come
Ooh,
from a family that I have disabled family members, but, when it hits you differently, your lens changes. But just recognizing and then how we mask or how we adapt to the environment. Like, I'm so
yeah.
used to being around people where, you're immediately like self-censoring, like, okay, this person's going to think that I'm just hyperbolic or,
Yes.
and so it's, but, my friends and who have on the periphery perhaps maybe witnessed, I mean, it's such an isolating illness too. I mean, you're in your home alone,
Yeah.
or you're hospitalized. So people don't really see it, but, you know, several of my friends and students and things, they have been sick recently, and I'm deeply concerned for them. And
Yes.
like, I have to like be careful how much I say because like the long hauler advocate in me wants to be like, okay, listen, have you tested
Mhm.
for this? Are you doing this? But a lot of them are like, I'm fine. It's just RSV. It's just, whatever. I'm like, oh my God. So,
It's just a
yeah, I mean,
virus.
there's very serious things going around. So,
Yeah.
the other portion of this is obviously advocating for masking still is something
Yes.
I still mask indoors
Yes.
and try to I think that, one of the beautiful takeaways from this horrific global experience is that, using a little more common sense can really help us protect each other, right?
Yeah.
And it would seem that the science and not would seem, I mean, it is science that it does protect us, and yet it's still such a battle, and within
Yeah.
all sorts of different communities,
Yeah.
we still find that masking seems to make
Yeah.
people agitated for some reason. So
I think because it's a reminder of the reality of which we are in, and people, like I said, I think they've really disconnected because they just can't
they don't want
mentally
to deal.
handle it. They don't want to deal with it. And so I know when I show up in a mask, people are like, "Are you sick?" I'm like,
Totally.
"No, I'm trying to not get sick. Like that's why I'm in a mask." So,
Right.
and I don't want to make anybody else sick around me. So it's
Right.
community care at the heart of
It's
it. And
fair.
speaking of that, I'm so excited about this project you're working on, and what I really appreciated about your story, and what I love about badass women in general is whenever something happens, it's a moment of reflection, but then also a moment of deciding, I'm going to do something, I'm going to be active in this space, and I'm going to use art in order to send a message out there. And also, everybody knows I love the arts. I'm a big proponent. So this is like two wonderful causes put together. Nina, can you tell us a little bit about this project?
Yeah.
Strangely Optimistic, which I love the name of
Yes.
it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, there is a wonderful, so Easterseals is an incredible organization that's been around for a very long time. And they have a film challenge called the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. And it
Mm-hmm.
was created to help bring visibility to disabled filmmakers. And I had become aware of it about a year ago when I was watching some films that came up on my feed. And I was like, this is a really cool thing. And then it came to my attention. I was invited to be a part of another project, and I did some writing on that. And then I thought, I've been wanting to tell this story in one form or another. I've written songs about my experience. I've done, because I'm primarily a singer songwriter, right, and
Mm-hmm.
also a writer. But I but I had this idea for a story, and I was like, you know what? I'm I'm gonna do it. Shoot. Now most people have like 6 weeks, 2 months to prepare. This was a week before the event was
Wow.
started, so I was like, well, I'll just film it on my iPhone. It'll be me and my dog, and it'll be tough, but whatever. I just wanted to tell this story, and it's a dark comedy because
Mhm.
for me, and I believe anyone who has endured any kind of like pain or chronic
Mm.
pain, and especially long haulers, you develop a sharp sense of humor because
Yeah.
humor gets us through. I mean, it's just, common knowledge. Humor gets us through our darkest times, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote this little story, and Julie Lamb from Mass Together America, we met and came together, and we're like, let's do this thing together, and kind of cobbled together a small group of people like hours before it began, literally, and shot this thing here at my place. And I'm so grateful. I let everyone know. I said, listen, this has to be a COVID conscious set.
Mhm.
I need you to
Mhm.
mask for me. You need to stay home if you're symptomatic or if you've been around anyone who's symptomatic. And so we tried to be as careful as we could be. Situation
Sure.
it was. So that felt really great because I'm also an actor and a performer, and my life, my performance, my performing, my recording, all those things have been drastically impacted from
Yeah.
my illness. And also, there's this perception that, I mean, again, I knock on wood a lot, but my voice is one of the few things that was untouched. Thank God, but, I still sing and perform, but people, I don't know, you kind of become a pariah. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
we don't want to deal with someone who has to mask, or, she's not able to. But like, I feel more passionate and stronger about my art now than ever, right?
Mm.
So, making this movie is an absolute labor of love. And this character, it's just a little snapshot of a day in
Yeah.
the life of this person early on in the pandemic, before anybody knew what was what, and just what she experienced, how she copes, where she finds joy in the midst of some really terrifying moments for her.
Yeah.
And she's armed with copious amounts of pickle juice, and it's so yeah, so that's kind of how it came to be. And so the cool thing about the disability challenge is that it is a film competition, so there's
Mhm.
all of the regular categories, best actor, best film, editor, etc., but then there's also an awareness campaign. And
Mm.
so this is really exciting because uh it's a very short window, and I'll be screaming from the rooftops about this far beyond that particular window. But from
Sure.
the 4th of April, it comes out tomorrow, April 4th, to April 12th, is this window where they encourage you to really promote, your film. And, if it's in particular about a certain, disability, to bring awareness to it. So we are hoping that we can help spread the word and get people to watch it. And if it resonates with them, for them to like it and share it and comment and all those things. I'm normally not a contest person. They're
Mhm.
exhausting, and it's a
Yeah.
whole thing. But I'm really, truly passionate about this subject matter. And so, I hope it resonates with people. I really did make it for myself. I really did, just do this
Was it
story for me.
cathartic?
It was. It
Mhm.
definitely was. And I mean, let me tell you, I mean, I shot it in my pajamas, just feeling supremely crappy.
Uh-huh.
So my I had someone write me this morning. They were like, "You look terrible. Good job."
Oh, that's just what you want to hear.
It was my makeup artist, so it was a
Oh
good
my
person.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, it was cathartic. And I've made so many incredible friends through this
Mm.
wild, weird, heartbreaking, beautiful journey. And I hope maybe it'll give someone just like a teeny little bit of hope, and then that would be a phenomenal thing.
I'm so thrilled that you and Julie, sort of joined forces. I love what she's done in this space. She's also another fierce advocate of
Incredible.
course, long COVID. And she runs the Mask Together America account, which
Yes.
I love. Um, I think it's really important that we continue to normalize experiences that people are having in the long COVID space, that we continue to normalize masking in public spaces, and that we continue to stand up for one another, right? Because, when I think of what you've gone through and what other people have gone through, I remember one story that really touched me, Nina, and kind of was sort of the impetus for me to be like, I will continue to do the things that I can to be of support, because this could be any of us. We're all healthy until we're not,
Not.
right? So it's a fluid state of being, health.
Yeah.
And I remember this one woman, I had her on a radio show I used to do, and she talked about her experience with long COVID and how it was about to cost her her job and her home. And she was almost in tears, like, what am I supposed to do? Because disability hasn't changed really since the 70s in terms of
Yeah.
social support. And I think this is an area that we really have to start talking about more honestly, is how are we taking care of those people that are leaving the workforce due to long COVID for maybe a shorter period of time or perhaps forever because their disability disables them in the long term?
Yeah.
And how do we as a society decide to move around that? Is that going to be universal basic income, or is that going to be an expansion of Social Security disability? And I really appreciate you in this space because I think art has always been a way to bridge gaps, bring people together, and get them to think about things in a way that's both humanistic and collective. What is it that you really want people to take away from this film as we wrap up?
That's a beautiful question. Well, I do want to take a quick moment to again acknowledge Julie Lamb and Mass Together America because she's been incredible. What an ally in terms of both her, being a producer on this and helping me to create this support my
Yeah.
vision, and what she's doing to help, connect communities. And the I think what I hope for people to take away from this is, one, to believe women, to believe people when they
Hmm.
say they're sick. And, the thing is that mental health and physical health are all the same body.
Yeah.
And so when people, I think community care is beautiful and precious. And because so many things are going on in our world and in our government and things like that that we don't have control over. The more that we can connect individually to people who are close to us, to have compassion for strangers,
Yeah.
to that yeah, I mean, there's so much I want to say about it, but I hope it brings people joy. I hope someone who sees this who doesn't know what long COVID is, which it's profound how many people don't know. I mean, I've been
That's
in
right.
doctor's appointments telling that I was in pre-op for a surgery, and the nurse was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh
Oh
my
my
god!"
God.
Right. So I hope maybe if people don't know about it, they get a little curious. Maybe it brings them compassion and empathy in that they haven't felt before. Maybe it helps them to be more proactive in someone who maybe it's not even long COVID. Maybe it's someone who has a chronic illness. Maybe it's someone
Yeah.
who's had back pain for forever, and they're like, maybe how can I be of service to you, and what's the best way that I can be, help support where you're at. So I hope this story, makes people laugh. It's really, I mean, it's goofy too. So, I think that we can find joy amidst suffering and pain. And that's also really important too, because it continues to bring us hope and keeps us moving forward through it. So,
Well, I appreciate you and this incredible work that you're doing. If people want to watch the film starting April 4th,
Yes.
Where can they go? And can you
Yes.
provide us the name of the film one more time?
Absolutely. So it's called Strangely Optimistic, and the website is strangelyoptimisticmovie.com. And Easterseals Disability Film Challenge is going to be housing it on YouTube, but I'm going to link it on my website as well. So they can either find it through Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, or they can just go straight to my website. And thank you so, so much for having me on and for being an ally and an advocate and just a general badass overall. So thank you.
Well, from one to another, I appreciate you so much. And remember, everybody, if you want to help reduce the spread of COVID, mask in public, let's make sure to ventilate our spaces. And if you're not feeling well, if you're able to stay home, just stay home. So those are a few easy things we can do to support one another in this very tumultuous time. Thank you again, Nina, for sharing your story. And until next time, everyone, as always, please take care of yourselves and each other. Bye, everybody.